Does that make you happy?
I like it.
Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We're going to dive into the Green Madness maybe to start the show. We're also going to dive into the March Madness.
The Green Madness? Did you just coin that?
No, well, maybe. I don't know. It just came out. Makes sense, doesn't it?
I'm totally on board.
There you go. We're also you know why I thought of it, because we're also going to dive into possibly March Madness as well. Girl Scout cookies. There's an interesting story about food services, so like drop-off delivery services, battling against the Girl Scouts and the cookies. The Girl Scouts are not happy about it.
You can't win any sort of battle against the Girl Scouts.
You cannot. I want to talk about, I have geniuses written down here. I want to talk about the Kanye, Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian, just the whole dating celebrity aura that's surrounding that right now. You were reading some quotes from a couple of people that I think would be funny to talk about.
Yes.
And then possibly ending with Brittney Griner, who is still in Russia, and it seems like it's going to be prolonged even more now than expected. Before we get to all of that stuff, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I will demonstrate how I'm feeling, and I left this in the fridge for
just so people know why you're doing that. Watch your movie poster.
No, I'm falling.
You are one of the only people that will actually stack things up in front of a refrigerator door, and I've never seen that before.
That's kind of where it went, and it just works better. But so here we are. This is the beauty of today.
Okay.
Here we are. They're not a sponsor, but they're here today.
Not a sponsor.
The greatest thing about St. Patrick's Day is the Shamrock Shake.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're around for like a month beforehand, but this is my second. I make sure I get one. And then today I was like, well, it's St. Patrick's Day. I should have another one. St. Patrick's Day, it's the tip off of March Madness. This is a great day. Next to Thanksgiving, this is the greatest Thursday of the year.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I mean, that's the most consistent Thursday. Is that what you're implying? Because there are Thursdays that things fall on.
Such as?
Well, like Christmas can fall on a Thursday.
Yeah, I guess. But
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but...
No?
I mean, sure.
Like your birthday can fall on a Thursday. You know why? Because we don't have the
set calendar.
The set calendar.
But I would argue,
yes,
the first day of March Madness is more fun than my birthday.
Yeah, it's exciting. Just the brackets and everything else. I will say the older I get, the less enthused I become about the bracket. I'm sure COVID and missing years.
I didn't even fill one out this year. It's the first year I never filled one out.
Really?
Didn't even fill one out.
Yeah. I used to be really big on having like the bracket of integrity. So like even if you filled out a bunch of different brackets, you had to have one bracket that you signed, and that was your integrity bracket.
See, I fill out one bracket and use it in multiple pools. That's what I used to do.
Okay.
But I never wanted to get to a spot where I'm like, well, in this bracket, I have this team winning, and this one I have this team winning. And so no, I never do that. I always fill out one bracket.
How's your cold toothpaste over there?
I don't understand how anyone in the world cannot like Shamrock Shakes.
It is common if you like Shamrock Shakes or not. I believe that it's like literally trying to eat cold toothpaste. That's what it's like.
I don't know. As I get older, I guess I never even thought some of my kids don't like mint.
Yeah.
Because we've had the thin mints argument in our house.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a good coworker, I put thin mints in the freezer, which is where thin mints go.
Okay.
You won't eat any of them because you're too
dumb
to appreciate the beauty of mints. But yeah, I guess you either like it or you don't. I could never imagine someone going into an ice cream store and not getting chocolate chip mint ice cream, which is green with the chocolate chips, and that is delicious.
See, I don't mind a dose of it. So what I mean by that is like when you go to Olive Garden and they give you the little mints,
like the after dinner
mints or whatever they are. Like I like one of those. Like I enjoy having one of those. But like if you said to me like if I could bottle that up into like a drink, like no thank you. Like I don't want.
Well, like, do I want a 2-liter bottle of Shamrock Shake? No.
I mean, that's
but this is my dose right here.
That's a lot of toothpaste you're drinking.
This is, oh my gosh.
It's a lot of toothpaste.
It is. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. Arguably the most underrated beverage in the history of the world is the Shamrock Shake.
I don't think it's underrated, though. I think it's properly rated. I think the majority of people are
That's
excited.
That's because you think it sucks.
I do, yes. But I think the majority of people are excited, like, oh, Shamrock Shake, like it's here.
I hope so, because they're delicious. I just feel sorry for you.
Okay. Is there anything that was like that? We have a couple of random things here. Like I said, the March Madness, the genius Brittney Griner. Is there anything like you're just spilling to get out of
I
it.
do want to mention, I think it's, today is obviously St. Patrick's Day. It's the beginning of March Madness, but because we could get into the stupidity of having a 68 team field over the 64 team field, but Notre Dame did play last night,
Okay.
and Notre Dame went double overtime, and they finally won at about 12:04 or something like that, that the Irish could not put away Rutgers until St. Patrick's Day got here. I think there's something cute about that.
I believe it. This is the whole Notre Dame, Shamrock, everything else. It's one of the only like school affiliations with a holiday, or like sports teams affiliation with a holiday. It's hard to duplicate what Notre Dame has. I was telling you the story about Trinity High School in Pennsylvania. They are the Trinity Shamrocks. And so we have played them before on St. Patrick's Day, and we did not fare well.
But when you play them not on St. Patrick's Day, you fare better.
We have fared much better when we do not play them
so
on St. Patrick's Day.
There must be something to it.
There has
The
to be.
Shamrocks don't lose on St. Patrick's.
But I can't even think of a comparison to that. Like, I can't even
No,
think
that's
of,
interesting that you mentioned that.
You don't want to play so-and-so on, like Halloween, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
there's the New Jersey Devils,
yes.
but you're not really. Yeah, I guess they do start hockey about them. But no, I get that is a very.
I guess you wouldn't want to play the New Jersey Devils on 6-6. But see, you're still a 6 shy. Like, you wouldn't want to play them on June 6.
Yeah, you are shy though. That's
you wouldn't want to play them June 6th at 6 o'clock.
Ooh.
See what I did there?
Ooh, very good.
But yeah,
unique. This is Notre Dame and St. Patrick's Day is the most obvious combination. And it is, yes, it's cool.
Let's do the Brittney Griner, or should we do the Geniuses?
No, the Geniuses is good.
Let's do the Geniuses. For people who care, this is about Pete Davidson, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, and this will flow into like bigger, broader topics about what does it mean to date a celebrity? What does it mean to break up with a celebrity? How are their relationships different in the mold of like everybody sees it?
How about what does it mean to date a chick whose last boyfriend was crazy?
Yeah, no, that's a good way.
Because that could happen to anybody.
Well, but this is the other thing that I dove into too, because I am a huge Kanye West fan. For any, like, musically, I am obsessed with Kanye West. The majority of the stuff that he does, I think musically he is a genius. If you've never seen from start to finish, if you've never seen where he started to where he has made it, it's an incredible journey. However, I do think geniuses are weird. I think when you're a genius at something, or something is so clear to you, sometimes you miss out on other aspects of life.
You realize in regular life he's nuts.
I think I'm very aware that in like a social aspect, he is off his rocker. Like, I think I know that. I guess what I'm doing is I'm not making excuses for him, but I guess like it's the people who are shocked by this. Like, I just knowing him from where he started, and just knowing like how tunnel visioned like he was about making music and becoming famous, and like that is like no one should be shocked that he is off his rocker. Like, we talked a lot about Kobe the other day, and Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson, and like all these people who are arguably the geniuses of their thing, whatever it is. These people are weird. Like, they're like, we shouldn't be shocked that Kanye West is the way he is.
You're right. There's an aspect of, well-rounded people who, when you are that focused in one aspect of life, it limits your ability to be well-rounded in other places. So yes, I do think that's fair.
What else happens too? You just don't hear no very often.
Well, that was the other thing. The whole aspect with the relationship and the dumping, or however you want to say it, and now she's moved on to this other guy, and it's probably the only place in Kanye's world. And this happens to all kinds of people in all kinds of relationships, regardless of your success level.
Sure.
That you're dealing with this aspect of this person who I was such an important figure in their life, and now she won't listen to me at all. She doesn't care. This guy now outranks me, and that's a blow to anybody's ego. But yes, imagine how many people look at Kanye and say, you can't have what you want. And how many things in Kanye's life in 2020 does he want that he just can't have? And right now, it's probably Kim.
Yeah, it would be
And
one
that's
of the
and that's
only
it.
things he can't get to.
And it's
No.
probably the last thing in 10 years that Kanye say, hey, I want to fly here. I want to do this. I want to do that. And the answer is always yes.
Yes.
The answer is no. And like there are a lot of spoiled kids who, regardless of money, regardless of anything, when the one time in a year when they hear no, they can't handle it. And Kanye has built a level for himself. He's had so much success that he's so spoiled. I just think that this is a challenging.
Right. So this is what's unique to me about the situation. So here's 10-second rundown. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian broke up. She wants to file for divorce. Kanye has kind of struggled with that. Like, he's kind of refused the divorce side of it, even though they're separated. She started dating Pete Davidson, who's an SNL star as far as a comedian and other aspects of his life. And then Pete Davidson and Kanye West have essentially been feuding. Kanye West put him in a song, all these different things. Now, with all of that said, that's like
isn't that when you've made it?
What's that?
When you're in a diss track, isn't that when you've officially landed?
You probably have far exceeded your expectations once you were in a Kanye West diss track. Now, with all of that said, what makes this the most unique out of all the other celebrity relationships and breakups and everything else, they are all so willing to have this be like public record. Like, they're sharing screenshots of text messages. They're like saying, so-and-so wouldn't talk to me. There was a whole birthday party incident where Kanye West couldn't find it. And so he went on live stream and he actually was saying to people that like Kim won't let him come to his kid's birthday party. So then finally the boyfriend of one of the sisters called him and said, hey, the party's here. And Kanye West randomly showed up at the Kardashians' birthday party for one of the kids. And so like, there's this whole, we have jumped like levels in like the public eye of celebrity relationships. And so my question to you, the first question I have for you is, do you think it's always like this? This is just the first time we've gotten to actually see it play out with the phone calls and the text messages. We're almost watching this happen live. It's almost like reality TV, but it's not on network TV.
Right. No, I get
it's just on social media instead.
Oh, no, I think there are tens of thousands of birthday parties where exes aren't invited and they're trying to get. I think this is a very, it might not be typical for this is not an uncommon divorce / breakup that they're trying to get to the place. They're not told where it is. They don't want them there. So I don't think that's, and to see, I mean, I'm going to say this, and there's no way it doesn't sound condescending. You're a little too young, but call me in 10 years, and you're going to talk about your friends and relatives and people you know that got divorced. Mm-hmm. And you're going to talk about the ones who handled it very civilly and amicably, and there's still a functioning co-parenting unit for the kids. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to tell me about the people who were just not good and couldn't speak and couldn't communicate and were so bitter and so angry and whatever. And they fall into that category. Like, there are divorced couples that do really well. One of the, because I just saw, because Lisa Bonet and Momoa broke up. What's his name? Jason. But her and Lenny Kravitz and Jason Momoa were a very friendly, functioning, co-parenting, step-parent, and all that.
Do you think the reason this is so public then is because it's like, how we wouldn't see it if it was functioning? So are you
correct?
So you're implying that the only reason that this is happening, like the leaks and the messages and all this stuff, the reason it's in such a public eye is because it's so dysfunctional?
Yes. And haven't you seen breakups haven't you seen dirty laundry aired all over social media?
I mean,
because I have, and it ain't from famous people. It's just from angry people.
Maybe, I don't know how to say this without sounding condescendingly like the way you did a second ago. Maybe my generation they don't air it out as much as, see, like my generation and below, social media it's braggadocious. It's to show like my life is great and my life is, it's not really to show that like things aren't going your way.
Oh, but don't you think people use it sometimes to be like, I was wronged and I need all my friends to tell me how badly I was wrong?
I actually think older people are more likely to do that than younger.
Really?
Because younger people have this idea that your Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, that is to show that your world is better. It's to show that your world is at peace, and I'm at this beach, and I'm eating this restaurant, and look at my awesome meal, and these are my awesome friends, and they're the greatest. And it's not really viewed as this where you air out your dirty laundry.
But what happens when something ends? Whether it be a job,
You just delete the pictures.
whether it be
You
a
delete the
relationship.
You delete the pictures, or I'm excited for this new opportunity. Better, like it's just different. I'm telling you, it's different. I'm not saying people my age don't do that, but it is far less
In the
likely
majority,
than
you're
people
saying
your age.
Okay, and you could be right.
I think that. But see, I think like this is not like this is the crazy part about it. Kanye West is late 40s now.
I was going to say he's closer to my age than yours.
I mean, Pete Davidson's younger. I think Pete Davidson's is late 20s.
Didn't Pete Davidson date Ariana Grande?
Oh, he's
like, what does he have?
He's funny.
Is that it? There's lots of funny people.
No, but this is different because he's famous and he's funny and he's like, I think he's likable because he knows he's dislikable. Like, he makes jokes all the time. One of his best stand-up jokes he makes is about, like, he has this 5-minute skit about how his face is the most punchable face in the world. And he just talks about how, like, the bags under his eyes and you can never tell what's going on with the skin. And it's like this whole 5-minute skit about him talking about, like, how dislikable his face is. And there's something incredibly likable about that.
Oh, he certainly doesn't take himself too seriously.
No.
But it has worked. Like, there is nobody on earth that like Bill Clinton is going up to him and saying, how do you land the women that you do?
Maybe. I mean, there's also, like, you and I did we went through the year by year who won not Sexiest Man Alive. Remember, we went through and did that?
Right.
And so, like, for generations before, like, that was the clean haircut and the button up shirt and the, like, all these different boxes you kind of checked. But, like, the generation, like, slightly below me, like, there is kind of this idea of, like, the tattooed, not put together, like, I'm too cool to actually worry about my hygiene. Like, there is, like,
I'm too cool to worry about my hygiene.
There's a very, like, that's a very real thing. And so, yeah, I think I'm not surprised he does what he does. I'm not surprised he does as well as he does. But I think older people are shocked. I think older people look at him and they're just like, how do people like Pete Davidson?
Listen, when I think about these, when you look at, like, Brad Pitt, so he was with Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie, and these are two of the all-timers.
Sure.
Do they outrank Kim Kardashian and Ariana Grande?
Well, the difference there would be, I'm trying to think.
Like, and I'll just keep, when you look at George Clooney, he was with Stacy Keibler, and when you look at Ben Affleck, he was with J-Lo.
So what's the point you're trying to make?
That these leading Hollywood guys, the sexiest man alive of the sexiest men alive.
Okay.
And when you take their two most attractive female partners, does Pete Davidson beat them all?
Oh,
and Pete Davidson ain't George Clooney. He ain't Ben Affleck.
He's not to you.
To society.
To a majority of society, sure, but that majority is shifting. Like, I think that's the point I'm making. I think the point I'm making is that there is a whole faction of society that, like, Pete Davidson fits a mold of, like, what they are attracted to. 100%.
I get. I mean,
don't think so.
I don't get. Obviously, it must be, because after he breaks up with Kim Kardashian, he's probably going to marry Mila Kunis. Who knows?
Hold on. This is a good example. Do you think Justin Bieber is closer to the people that you mentioned, the Pitts and the Afflecks of the world, or do you think he's closer to the Davidsons of the world? I think Davidson and Bieber are way closer together than the other two. And here's the point I'm making: Bieber is considered, like, the heartthrob icon of the generation. But I think he
tried to be. I think he's different because I think he was so young.
I don't think he is. Take two pictures side by side of him. I don't think they're that different.
What?
Just
No, his story is
hairstyle,
different.
tattoos.
Because he was the cute little 13-year-old and
I
he
disagree.
wanted to be the badass, so he got tatted up.
You say their stories are different, but I disagree because the examples you gave, like those are actors who all came up through the same Hollywood, and like you get to date the opposite sex on the same level of Hollywood. And so for Pete Davidson, like that's not how he came up at all. For Justin Bieber, that's not how he came up at all.
No, that's not what I meant.
So,
I meant like where Justin Bieber was seen as the cute, innocent little, so he tried to go that way, just like Miley Cyrus was, and Alyssa Milano did, and they tried to show people how badass and grown up they were, and Bieber did it by getting all these tattoos.
See, it's so funny because even the people you just mentioned, I think this is again like just generational gap. Like for you only like a Pete Davidson or a Bieber or Miley Cyrus never would have existed in your generation because there was no internet and there was no way for them to come up through and like find those different ways. Miley Cyrus had her dad, but for the most part, like a lot of her music was streamed online first. Like a lot of the things she was doing was very inventive, and it wasn't necessarily like just put an album out and like shove it into their face. Same thing with Justin Bieber. Like Justin Bieber came up through YouTube before he was famous. Pete Davidson was a YouTube comedian before SNL. Like he went and tried out and everything else. The people that you're describing right now would never have existed in the cookie cutter world of 1995. Like it wouldn't have happened for them. And so I look at these people now and I'm like, yeah, like Pete, I'm not surprised at all that people like Pete Davidson or Justin Bieber.
Isn't that when NSYNC showed up?
What, like 1995?
Timberlake didn't do that.
In 1995?
Yeah. When did NSYNC show up?
In the 90s.
But Timberlake didn't become like, he doesn't have tattoo sleeves and he didn't come. And Timberlake is very much.
We're having two different conversations. What are you implying? Because I'm implying that like, I'm not saying these people act out because they were child stars. What I'm saying to you is what's considered a celebrity has completely shifted. And so you think in your mind, how could Pete Davidson possibly get with these celebrities like Ariana Grande and Kim Kardashian? And what I'm saying to you is, to Kim Kardashian and Ariana Grande, Pete Davidson is every bit of celebrity as Brad Pitt or Ben Affleck or anybody else.
Whoa. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
He's on Saturday Night Live. Like he was in the Motley Crue movie. Like Pete Davidson is, but you know who else is a celebrity? Like, I don't know, Gilbert Gottfried. Like, and he ain't like, so there are lots of celebrities that aren't landing not only the A list, but the A+ list, like the Hall of Fame list. And Pete Davidson has landed 2 of them.
Yeah, but this is the point I'm making to you. You shouldn't be surprised.
I'm shocked.
You shouldn't.
I am.
You shouldn't. You said it yourself. Like, he's SNL, he's popular, he's funny, and it's just a new, what is considered a celebrity and an A-lister and all those things has nothing to do necessarily with the way you look or your Grammy or your Oscar or any of that. Some of this stuff is just like how many people follow you on YouTube, how many people follow you on Instagram.
And I get the whole celebrity thing. Who is and I'm escaping his name. He was in Moneyball. He was in Superbad.
Jonah Hill.
Yes, Jonah Hill is an uber celebrity.
Okay.
And if he comes home with Ariana Grande, I am floored.
But this is, again, like, I don't think Jonah Hill main objective. Like Pete Davidson is flying around on a plane with like Lorne Michaels, like going to islands and stuff. Like he's running into these people.
No, I get it. Jonah Hill can run into whoever he wants.
Like Jonah Hill's reading scripts for like the next Scorsese movie and like begging Leo to let him on Wolf of Wall. It's just two different worlds. Like it's not like I don't know.
I mean, maybe
Pete Davidson lives in a world that I don't think you can relate to. The same way I can't.
Well, I can't relate to
exactly,
it, but
the same way I can't necessarily relate to the same world that like I still don't really understand like the Clooney effect and the Pitt effect of like they were just these people and they were untouchable and like they just got whoever they wanted. I can't even imagine that world because in my world, like I never see Pitt or Clooney when I'm scrolling on social media or any of this stuff. So, like in my world,
but now
Pitt and Clooney are dinosaurs.
But now they're older and they don't care.
I understand that, but even at that time, like they to me, they didn't have nearly the celebrity that Pete Davidson has at the same time now.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, but it still also doesn't mean that I don't know how I'm trying to say this. Just because when you rank the top 10 comedians of this century, Pete Davidson's not there.
Sure.
So there's a level, like he's, I don't want to say he's Paris Hilton popular because he's more popular. There was a time where Paris Hilton was the biggest celebrity on earth, but it doesn't mean she was good at anything.
Correct. So
now I'm not saying Pete Davidson's not talented,
but I think
he obviously is.
I think you just solved it for us, because in the 90s, you had to do something. Like, in order to be a top clear celebrity, you had to be this great looking actor, actress. You had to be this great musician. You had to represent, like, this is the thing that I do, and this is why I should be on your magazine cover, and I'm good looking on top of it.
Correct.
And when I'm saying to you, like, today, now, like, yes, Pete Davidson's funny and he's on SNL and all this stuff. Pete Davidson is way more famous for being Pete Davidson than because he's an actor or because he's a comedian.
Okay, and I get that.
So I don't know, like, I guess the shock and awe of someone like you or your generation or anybody who's kind of on the outside of the bubble, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, I don't think you should be surprised. I don't. It's just a completely different celebrity world. Completely different.
But it's also the aspect of, like, I understand that he's a celebrity, and I understand that he's in that pool that is a very small pool, but it doesn't mean that, like, Kim Kardashian just because he's a celebrity, Kim Kardashian doesn't date every celebrity. Correct. There are thousands and thousands of celebrities that Kim, and she picked him. And the other reality is, you can even go outside. Tiger Woods didn't marry a celebrity. Tiger Woods married a nanny from another golf caddy, and he was the biggest guy in the world. So I'm just shocked of all the people in the world for Ariana Grande to date, and she could have dated anyone. She could have dated Aaron Rodgers. She could have dated a Saudi prince if she wanted to. And she dates Pete Davidson. And going from Kanye West to I just don't like.
I don't think it's that far of a gap.
I think it's a huge gap.
See, I don't think it's that big.
I think it's huge.
You know what's funny about the Kanye West thing is he hasn't really had a stellar album. Like, musically, he's been out of it for probably 4 years now.
See, I would say he hasn't had a stellar album yet, but I'm more of an 80s Hairspray guy, so it's different.
So in the 90s, Kanye West would almost be, like, non-existent right now. Like, to not put out relevant music for half a decade, like, I don't even know if you would be on the cover of magazines, all this stuff. But in today's world, relevancy doesn't mean that you're still good at the thing you were good at. But relevancy is just like, how many people, how many followers do I have? How relevant am I? And you know what? If I'm not relevant, I'm going to live stream today. I'm going to tweet absurdities today. I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay relevant, because even though I'm struggling to be a good musician or a good actor or a good comedian or whatever it is, I can still be relevant because myself, my brand is bigger than all my skill sets and bigger than everything else that I'm doing.
I get that, but it's still more than relevant.
Okay.
Like, who's Kylie Jenner dating?
Devin Booker, maybe?
Who's an NBA superstar.
Yeah.
It just seems
if we Google search Devin Booker, Kanye West, and Pete Davidson right now, I bet you Pete Davidson is higher than both of them.
But it doesn't mean sure. And if you Google search Donald Trump, he's higher too. Sure. But it doesn't mean Kim Kardashian's dating him.
No, Trump's old.
You get my point.
I did get your point. Girl Scout cookies. I think you're going to get a kick out of this. A labor shortage at a Kentucky bakery led to Bay Area Girl Scouts scrambling to find cookies. Meanwhile, every single kind of cookie is available on DoorDash, and the company will deliver it for just $3.99. The Girl Scouts are upset with DoorDash because they have essentially bought up the Girl Scout cookies and they are selling them, and it's stopping I don't want to call them regular Girl Scouts, but it is stopping the door-to-door style of Girl Scouts. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's like badges involved, there's
competitions
involved. Like, selling Girl Scout cookies, obviously they're doing it to raise money on stuff, But like, if you're an individual Girl Scout, my understanding is that there is a perk to selling more. And if you cannot do that because there are not enough cookies because you're selling it on DoorDash, you now can't accomplish the goals or the things that you set out as a Girl Scout.
This would be my thought.
Okay.
And I never knew any of this until you told me about it today.
Yes.
If I'm the Girl Scouts, this is a good problem to have.
Okay.
Because you are still making the money.
Okay.
Someone else is doing your legwork. And if you need to figure out a way to have accreditations or commendations for your girls, figure out another one. But when you have DoorDash making your company, all because they bought them. Sure. It's not like DoorDash screwed the Girl Scouts in any way. They bought the cookies. They're selling, whatever the case may be. You've still got your money. Now that you have to come up with a different rating system and promotion system for them, put your heads together and come up with a new system.
And figure it out. So essentially, after the pandemic disrupted last year's Girl Scout cookie season, they were determined to sell hundreds of boxes this winter, but the third grader was thwarted by two challenges beyond her control: supply chain issues and DoorDash. So there is an incentive if you're a Girl Scout to sell as many cookies. I hadn't thought of that. That's a very good point. Like, if you're the Girl Scouts, like adapt quickly, change the incentives, like give them a reason to want to promote DoorDash or push DoorDash, like, because the goal is just to sell cookies, right?
Yes, it's to make money.
It's not about how you do it or who does it.
So I got to tell you this. I'm going to give you props. There's one NCAA tournament game that started today. It's Michigan and Colorado State.
Okay.
We talked about it, and I went through, and because Colorado State is a 5, Michigan isn't, or is it a 6-11? 6-11. Okay. But Michigan is actually favored, and we talked about it beforehand. And this is kind of the beauty of the tournament. I was like, Colorado State is a good record, but they haven't played anyone. Yes. And I don't think Michigan's that good, but they played in the Big Ten. And you're like, Colorado State is really, really good player. Regardless of everything else, they're obviously pretty good. Right. They're a 6 seed, but they have they have like an NBA player. And at halftime, they're up 7. Yeah. So there you go. Props to you, at least for 20 minutes.
Thank you.
That you were like, Colorado, they got to start. What's his name?
At one point, you said they were up what? 14 or something like that?
And it was 14-9 early. They came out shooting it well, and then we started the show, and I just checked because I figured it was about halftime. So what's the kid's name?
I think it's Dottie, I think the last name is Roddy is the last name. And he's pretty fun to watch. He's like a 6'5" roly-poly.
You said he's very Barkley-esque.
Very Barkley-esque. He's fun to watch. You'll get it. I coached with an NBA scout for a couple of years, and one of his biggest things is if there's a coin flip game or if there's a game you're unsure of, if you think it's pretty evenly matched, one of the first questions you should ask yourself is, who has the best player on the floor?
Well, Roddy has 7 at halftime. They have some dude named Thomas who's 4 for 5 from the 3-point line.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're doubling down on Roddy.
For those of you who are challenged at math, 4 for 5 from the 3-point line is a good day.
Yes, very good day.
That is good.
And I'm sure, even without watching, I'm sure Michigan is doubling Roddy, and I'm sure Roddy's making the right play, and he's throwing it out, and the guy's getting very good looks. So
I've always thought, and I wanted to do this at Bucknell. Oh, this is here. I don't know what we have to talk about, but here's one of my obnoxious stories. Years ago, when I'd done a radio show in Baltimore a lot, and they would still call me like once or twice a week, and I would talk. And it was NCAA tournament time. The guy asked me if I had any upsets, and I said, honestly, I think Bucknell has a chance. Uh-huh. And of course, they get all over me because like, oh, Bucknell, and I picking the hometown school, and I was like, no, they were 13 seed. I was like, Bucknell's pretty good, and they're playing a 4 seed Kansas, and I don't think Kansas is any good this year. And they're only a 4 seed because they're Kansas. And, these are how these things happen. But I think Bucknell's good. And I don't think Kansas is all that good. And then Bucknell went on and beat them. It was Bucknell's first win. So I became like the obnoxious guy of. So I would have loved to have been in Lewisburg while that game was going on and while they won. And to be at one of these places, even Colorado State, which can't be a tiny place.
Sure.
I don't know if it's in Colorado Springs because University of is in Boulder, but wherever it is, to get to these places, I mean, could you imagine what it'd have been like to be on the in a bar at University of Maryland, Baltimore County when they beat Virginia, or when Belmont beat whoever that Belmont beat.
I think they beat Duke one year.
Howard won a game when Lehigh beat Duke.
Yeah.
When Richmond beat Syracuse. to be in those places, whether it's at 4:30 in the afternoon or whether it's at 11 o'clock at night, would just have to be a madhouse.
Oh yeah, it's probably just pandemonium.
And not to be at the arena, because the arena is just whatever, but to actually be on campus for the big upset. I remember when Penn State beat UCLA back in the 90s, and I want to say Penn State they were a deep seed. Okay. Not UCLA, sorry, North Carolina. I think Penn State beat North Carolina.
Okay.
But anyway, be that as it may.
Yeah, good point. Anything else before we go to that?
Did we talk about Brittney Griner, or did we just mention that it's...
Maybe we'll get it to her tomorrow for Friday.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get there.
Do you have a tournament winner? Did you come up with one? Because I can't.
No, I think on the one I filled out, I did Gonzaga over. I have Gonzaga over Purdue, and I think I have Auburn over Arizona, and then I believe I have Gonzaga over Auburn in the national title. Is what I ended up going with.
Did you know this? I'll throw this out. The last team, I think Arizona is the last team west of Texas to win the national title, and it was in the 90s.
Okay.
There has not been. When did UCLA last win it?
Yeah, but that's weird because I'm sure there's teams like Baylor just won it, and they're like in Texas.
But Texas, when you look at the country, Texas is in the middle of the country.
No, I get it.
I think even Kansas, University of Kansas, may be further west than Texas. But there is no, and when you think of like the Mountain Time Range, there's no great basketball schools in Colorado, and so that's kind of a little bit of a wasteland, basketball wise. But nobody from the Pac-10, the UCLAs, the Arizonas, it has been Gonzaga has been their year and that's what I told someone yesterday. I don't really have anyone I'm rooting for, but I'm rooting against Gonzaga again because I can't stand what Gonzaga has become.
I don't really know what that means. I think
because everyone thinks they're good every year. They don't play anyone. They play non-conference teams in November. They go dominate their conference, which is a bunch of nobodies. And then they get to the tournament and they're a really high seed and they never win.
Well, part of their problem is like, I don't know if they have football or they don't have football.
I don't think
I'm going to assume they don't because I've never heard of Gonzaga football. So like these other conferences are never going to let you in. They're not. Like, I'm sure, I have no doubt Gonzaga would be thrilled to join the Pac whatever or 12. The big, they would join a conference, but if you don't have football, they're not going to let you join. They're not letting you.
They could join the Big East.
They're not. That's their travel schedule would be fantastic. I looked at them, and again, I don't think there's a favorite this year. I think a lot of the 1 seeds are unbelievably vulnerable. I just look at Gonzaga, and it's the same reason I have Auburn going on the other side. They have big men that are mobile, that can switch multiple positions. They're going to be the most, is malleable the word I'm looking for?
Good word.
They're going to be, I was looking for teams that I just said, no matter who they play, they're going to be able to adjust and do different things and switch. And so the more I looked at it, the more Auburn and Gonzaga fit that mold. And that's who I went with. But I don't feel great about it.
It has been 20 years that people have been telling me Gonzaga is really good.
They are good.
And they just... if you're really good, sooner or later, you need to win. And I know they made the finals last year, and they got crushed just as I told you they would.
That's so random, though, because you and I talk all the time about, A, how hard it is.
Yeah, I agree.
And B, only one team wins it. Like, only one.
I know.
There are programs and coaches and players all around this country that wrong time, that just came up a shot short, a rebound here, there are coaches that won a national title that the ball just bounced the right way enough times, and then they've done nothing around that 1 year. They did nothing before it, and they did nothing after it. I just think to dislike Gonzaga because they've never won one national game, just the national championship. You're saying they've been to Final Fours, they've been to Sweet 16s, they've more than you probably think.
Okay.
And so the fact that they just haven't won that one game is enough to hate them. It just makes
no. And that's not
against everything.
What I hate about it is their conference is weak, and no matter how many, St. Mary's is better. Blech. If everyone keeps telling me, Gonzaga's really good, Gonzaga could win,
yes.
but they never do.
Okay, well, listen. Then when the Cowboys are good again next year, and you're like, hey, like we got, like I think we're pretty good. We got shit. I'm gonna be like, yeah, but you don't play anybody. Your division.
What do you mean we don't
sucks.
play? Our
Your
division does suck.
Your
Our
division
division
sucks. You
does
don't play
suck.
anybody, and thus you're not going to be able to do it. And I don't want to hear anything. You're just going to have to go, yeah, it's the same reason I hate Gonzaga. That's what you have to say next year when I say that.
If the Cowboys have run to an undefeated start because they've beaten bad Giants team, bad Washington team, there is that level of who have you beaten.
But Gonzaga didn't. But Gonzaga doesn't do that anymore. They've already played Duke. They've played a number of blue bloods before their conference schedule.
Correct,
started.
and they have to. And yes. I get it. But if they played in a real conference, there's no way they're 30-2 every year.
They'd be 28-4.
No, they would not.
Yes, they would be.
You're
telling me Gonzaga would not have won the ACC or competed with Duke to win the ACC this year? They absolutely would have. They went
on the road to St. Mary's and got crushed.
St. Mary's is good.
Well, so's Notre Dame.
You're not allowed to lose.
So's Wake Forest. So's
all of these teams lost. Like you're acting as if because Gonzaga lost to St. Mary's, like they must be awful. But if you go around the country, every team lost to somebody they shouldn't have lost to. Like it all happens. It's hard. Like this stuff is hard.
I get it. But when you're in a real conference, you have hard games twice a week.
Yes.
And every now and then you get the team that sucks, so you get a laugher.
Sure.
But what Gonzaga does is they have a whole season full of laughers, and then they have 2 tough road games every year.
They're not.
And one of them was at St. Mary's, and they got worked.
You think the West Coast Conference is laughers? Like it's just full of laughers. Nobody's good in the West Coast Conference.
Nobody's great. No.
It doesn't make any sense. They would have finished second, if not first, this year in the ACC.
You're out of your mind.
Really?
Yes.
You truly believe that?
Yes.
Gonzaga, where would have Gonzaga finished in the ACC this year? By the way, this is a conference that has a 2 seed and then an 8, 10, 11.
The ACC was bad this year. Okay. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
So, like, if you want to cherry pick the ACC, but if they lost on the road at St. Mary's, they're losing on the road at someone in the ACC. They could lose at Florida State.
Once or twice, absolutely. Once or twice they would have lost on the road, just like every other ACC team, just like every Big Ten team. Like, just like this stuff happens
but
when you're in a conference.
You can't say they would lose once or twice on the road in the ACC when they lost once or twice on the road in the West Coast Conference.
By the way, I think they lost once.
They lost once.
Okay.
Well, but that counts as once or twice. They lost once. But I don't know.
Your hatred for Gonzaga makes absolutely
it's
no
not.
sense. It makes
I totally. Well, you hate Duke.
What's that?
You hate Duke.
That makes sense because I'm a Carolina fan. Like mine's an irrational.
I'm a fan of rational thinking, and I hate people telling me every March that Gonzaga could win this year, and they don't. It's like me buying my Powerball ticket and saying I could win this time. I could, but for some reason I never do.
Okay. But now you need to apply that to every other sport and every other team that you root for. You do realize that. You can't just attach it to Gonzaga.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to remind you of that when we talk about these other teams.
And it happens to me every time that I tell people that this is the Cowboys' year, I am reminded of it.
Okay. That
you said that last year. Okay. And so I just say it to all the basketball experts that tell me Gonzaga's really good and they might win a national title. Well, they might. Mm-hmm. You know who else might? Notre Dame. They're not going to.
No, that's different. You know that's different. You know those are 2 completely different things.
But you know what's not completely different about it?
Notre Dame might win a national title and Gonzaga might win a national title this year are 2 completely different things.
But you know what's not completely different?
What?
Their number of national basketball titles. And come May, they'll still have the same number.
How many schools? I'm going to look this up after the show. How many schools have won a national basketball title?
I don't know.
I bet you the majority of them
have
not.
Well, of course not.
Okay, so exactly. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to Weiss Markets, and be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
I was gonna try to insult the Zags without saying something with profanity. Nothing was coming to my head. I think Mark Few's a great coach. I really do, and I respect it. I respect the hell out of what they've done.
I don't respect the hell out of you backpedaling.
Tell me they're the 18th best team in the country and they're a 4 seed, and I would root for them. Don't stop telling me they're a 1 seed. They're not.
Everybody go root for the Zags. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina.